I turned Rescue Ace into a competitive $50 budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck. While we didn't get every single card that we wanted reprinted, Big Dog, there were some amazing things that happened over this year, and it made Rescue Ace probably the best deck that you should play on a budget. And today I'm going to be breaking down this $50 budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck and how it can be your strongest budget deck in your entire arsenal. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, Big Dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Making Rescue Ace a budget competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck was pretty hard. But Big Dog, not only am I going to be breaking down some really cool things that you could be doing with your Rescue Ace deck, I even was able to make this a true $50 Yu-Gi-Oh deck. So it's going to be really fun breaking down why I think Rescue Ace is the best deck to play on a budget. And not only will I be doing that, I'll be showing you guys some really cool combos that I don't think any Rescue Ace player will see coming. But before I get into the deck profile, there is probably something that you're going to want to know. TheCaliEffect, where did I get these awesome sleeves? And also, where could I get this mat? You guys seen it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Challenge and it was phenomenal. I'm going to give you guys the heads up. Right now, we're in production of finding a cloth mat. I'm not a big fan of it, and this is why I'm going to show you why I'm not a big fan of this particular cloth material. It does that when you sway. It has like a weird texture to it, but overall, it feels really, really good. So I'm going to make you guys a deal. If you want to pick up the Millennium mat, it is going to be on my website. And everything on my website right now is 30% off. I'm going to make a very limited quality with this particular fabric, and then I'm going to do some more research and find a different type of fabric. But just with the people with grubby hands that really want this mat right now and don't really care about the fabric, I don't think that it's a bad fabric. It's just not necessarily up to my standards. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys at all times. But now that I got my selfless promotions out of the way, let's go ahead and break down this Rescue Ace deck. I'm going to break it down into starters, the rest of the Rescue Ace cards, extenders, and whatnot. And I think one of the most important things for this deck is Rescue Ace Hydrant. So unfortunately, unlike some of the higher end versions, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Rescue Ace Hydrant instead of the normal 2. And the reason why we're going with the 3 copies instead of 2 is because we really want to see this card. Rescue Ace typically is going to be just summon Hydrant Turbo, but this particular deck is going to be built on the Rescue Ace names. I think a lot of people, when they build Rescue Ace full power, they actually overlook some of the really cool cards for this deck. There are some genuine threats inside of Rescue Ace, and Hydrant helps you not only get to Turbulence, but it helps you get into those other cards. And as you already know, this is the main source of the engine. Unfortunately, these were about $4 each, and so were the cards getting into Rescue Ace Hydrant. They were pretty expensive, but thankfully, because of Quarter Century Bonanza, they were no longer $30 to $70 each. There is 2 copies of Diabell Star the Black Witch and 3 copies of Wanted Seeker of the Sinful Spoils. And then, of course, there's the 1 copy of Original Sinful Spoils. Now, hypothetically, there is a different route than the Diabell Star package, and it's cheaper. Not significantly, but it is cheaper. There is 3 copies of Bonfire, the 1 Snake Eyes Ash, and the Poplar. Now, you could very much go with this particular line, and you actually save, I believe, $4, because this trades with this. Oh, you save $8, so that's a little better. But the reason why I don't like this particular version is because if you use Bonfire to search Snake Eyes Ash, and your Snake Eyes Ash gets negated, then you're cooked. You've already invested your normal sum. It's also another reason why I was able to up the Rescue Ace Hydrants, because normally when you special summon Diabell Star the Black Witch, this card is going to eat all of your opponent's interruptions. In current Yu-Gi-Oh, your opponent is going to want to stop this card. And 9 times out of 10, any type of interruption that can be thrown at it will be thrown at it. And ironically, it actually gives you a way to normal summon Rescue Ace Hydrant and pop off. That's why we're playing the 3 Hydrants. In this particular situation, you're a little bit more susceptible to hand traps, and it doesn't necessarily give you a bonus other than it's slightly cheaper. Not saying that you can't play these cards and you couldn't play these cards in combination with one another. The top version of this deck actually does. But we can't afford Azamina, which is a whole different story. So let's just move on. In order to get to these cards as consistently as possible, I play 1 copy of Pot of Prosperity, and this gives us 10 ways in a 43 card deck, which is mathematically a pretty decent number to get into the cards that you need. Fortunately enough, summoning Rescue Ace Hydrant isn't the end all be all to the deck though. There are other ways to get into the powerful Rescue Ace Turbulence, which is a game-ending Yu-Gi-Oh card. The premise of this deck is that most of the times when you can resolve that effect, you win. But fortunately enough, there's other really powerful cards in this deck, like a card that got limited on the Forbidden list a couple of lists ago, which is Rescue Ace Airlifter in Reinforcement of the Army. Of course, Reinforcement of the Army is going to get you an Airlifter. An Airlifter can get you into your important Rescue Ace spell cards. But since I didn't want to just be naked on just Reinforcement of the Army with one target, and I also thought that this card was incredibly important, a card that a lot of Rescue Ace players miss out on is Rescue Ace Impulse, and I play 3 copies. Now, Rescue Ace Impulse is amazing because it allows you to be able to act as another hand trap, but also get more Rescue Ace bodies to your side of the field. Again, one of the biggest things about this deck is being able to summon Rescue Ace Turbulence. The card is a complete menace. And oftentimes, you can have Rescue Ace Turbulence with not enough Rescue Ace cards in the graveyard. Not only does Rescue Ace Impulse allow you to get monsters like Fire Attacker, which allows you to draw 2 cards. Who would not want that as an effect? It also allows you to get Fire Engine, which gets more into your Rescue Ace cards. On top of that, Rescue Ace Impulse has a crazy effect to be able to stop the monster with the highest attack from activating its effects. It's actually ridiculous how this line of Rescue Ace gets really ignored, especially considering that both Fire Attacker and Rescue Ace Fire Engine can be special summoned to your side of the field when you normal summon Hydrant, already giving you enough Rescue Ace names for Turbulence if you already have it. Absolutely love that these cards are incredibly cheap because outside of Hydrant, everything else in Rescue Ace is less than $1, and these are very much needed cards to help insulate and add more combo filling to Rescue Ace. It means that sometimes even if you do get your Rescue Ace Hydrant negated, you still have place afterwards. There's then 2 copies of Rescue Ace Preventer and 2 copies of Rescue Ace Turbulence. The higher end builds are dropping Turbulence down to 1, and that's because they have so many ways to search it and insulate it. We don't necessarily have that luxury, but that doesn't mean that this card is not a blowout card. A lot of people forget that Rescue Ace Turbulence does have another hidden effect that if our opponent destroys a card, we get to destroy a card. So in the lower end versions, this is a really good ending piece to end on. But that's it for the Rescue Ace sponsors. Everything else other than that is pretty standard. There's 1 Contain, 1 Extinguish, 1 Rescue, 1 Alert, 1 HQ, and 3 Emergency. So one thing that I want to say about this is some people may ask, why not play the other Rescue Ace trap card? I don't know the other Rescue Ace trap card's name. Reinforce is the name, and Reinforce is not terrible. Target one Rescue Ace monster you control for the rest of the turn. It gains 1500 attack and defense and is unaffected by your opponent's monster effects, and it can't be destroyed by battle the next turn. It can also set a Rescue Ace spell. The reason why I decided not to play that is because this deck already has enough bricks. Like, let's face it, these cards you typically do not want to draw. These 4 cards should be set off of Turbulence. Emergency is a good card to allow you to dodge hand traps, but again, like I said, you do not want these 4 typically. Adding Reinforce really only adds another card that I don't exactly want. The thing that I love about this particular lineup here is that the entire deck is under $50 right here. When I added it up on TCG Player, if I remember correctly, this was about 30 bucks, which is ridiculous because you're getting mad value for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. But now here comes the lie. Brace yourself, guys, because we are playing hand traps, and I'm going to be 100% fair with you guys. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and Infinite Impermanence are $45 by themselves. That is a tough pill to swallow, but the beauty behind it is that if we're having this conversation, you're going to have to invest into these cards anyways, no matter what. Infinite Impermanence and Ash Blossom have been some of the best hand traps in the game since pretty much their inception. Now, granted, let's say if you're like Cali, you really need to stick to your guns and you nearly need to be to that $50 budget. I got you still. Hypothetically, if you only have $50 to your name and no other cards, you can actually not play these. Just play these instead. These cards don't do 1-for-1 what those cards do. In actuality, these cards do nothing what those cards pretty much do. There's no replacement for Infinite Impermanence and Ash Blossom. But when you combine the next best hand traps in Nibiru, Ghost Mortar, Droll, and Effect Veiler, you still have a solid lineup that you can use to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And then, of course, if you guys already have the Infinite Impermanences and Ash Blossoms, well, congratulations. This is my lineup. 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, 3 Effect Veiler, and 3 Droll and Lockbird. I think that these are the best hand traps in the game right now. Regardless, your boy Cali got you for a deck under $50. The entire deck is under that $50 range at the time of making this video. It is a 43 card deck, so the last 2 cards I play is Instant Fusion and Called by the Grave. Now, you're probably wondering, why are you playing 43 cards, Cal, if that's inconsistent? You're technically wrong. So I've been preaching this about deck building for so long. If you go to 40 to 43 mathematically seeing one of your 3-ofs, it means absolutely nothing. But actually, in this particular instance, going up in count does mean a little bit more for those cards that you play 1 copy of. which is the brick cards that you don't want to see. Looking at the topping decks from Rescue Ace, these are the strategies that actually do go over 42, 43, and a lot of times 45 cards for that same reason. I'm just staying to key while also providing cards that can actually protect you for your combo. I'm going to blaze through the extra deck cards, and then I'm going to show you a couple of combos that make Rescue Ace in this particular build really fun to play. All right, guys, blazing through this really quick. There's one copy of Underworld Goddess, one Access Code Talker, one Amblowell, one Unicorn, one Moon of the Closed Heaven. So the cool thing about this is just like how Diabell Star tricks your opponent into thinking that we may be playing Azamina, Moon of the Closed Heaven tricks our opponent into thinking that we're probably playing Fiendsmith. And what's more important is that Moon of the Closed Heaven, since this deck can summon a lot of monsters to the side of the build thanks to Impulse, Fire Engine, and the other cards, can actually just use its effect and link off two of our opponent's problematic threats for Underworld Goddess. A lot of people do not see that coming. There's Promethean Princess, there's Sunlight Wolf, there's SP Little Knight, I could only afford one, Dark the Dark Charmer, Hida the Fire Charmer, IP Masquerena, Solomon Great Almirage, and Relinquished Anima. Now the last two cards are going to make you go, huh? But you gotta follow me, trust the process. There's one Proxy F Magician and one Mud Dragon. Mud Dragon is an instant fusion target, but also is a Proxy F Magician fusion summon. I had to get really creative since I don't have SP Little Knight, or two copies of them in this deck. And I decided to give up 2 extra deck spaces to have something that works similar to SP Little Knight. And I'll show you in the combos. All right, big dog, your best in the base combo, just in case you don't know about Rescue Ace, this is the best way to start off Rescue Ace. Of course, you can do this in so many ways, but this is the best way to do the combo. Wanted Secret of Sinful Spoils and any card to discard. You're gonna start off by activating Wanted to get Diabell Star to your hand. And then you're going to use Diabell Star, sending the card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon it. Diabell Star will then use its effect to be able to set the original Sinful Spoils, and then you'll activate the effect of the original Sinful Spoils to be able to special summon out your Rescue Ace Hydrant. Right here, we actually have a little bit of a better situation. Let me move the hydrant right here so it can be visible. Hydrant can use its effect to go ahead and search out a monster known as Rescue Ace Airlifter. And then you have a normal summon. You can normal summon your Rescue Ace Airlifter to be able to add your emergency. Use emergency to be able to special summon out Rescue Ace Turbulence, sending the Airlifter to the graveyard. And now we can use the effect of Turbulence to be able to set a rescue, an extinguish, an alert, and a contain. You can also set emergency depending on the situation. Like if you draw one of these, then just set the other ones and also set emergency instead. I'm going to move Turbulence right here because I just realized I can't use this slot. Let's say hypothetically we set these 4 cards to our side of the field. I'm going to go ahead and leave them face up so you know which are what. And then the effect of Hydrant actually allows us to activate any one of these cards for free, even though it was already set. With that, we can use the alert, and this would be going into full combo to be able to add Rescue Ace Preventer from our graveyard or our decks to our hand. And then we can banish our Rescue Ace Airlifter to be able to summon out our Preventer to our side of the field. Let me move this right here because it's a little bit in the light. Now you have a few modes of operating right here. What you could do is link off the Rescue Ace Turbulence and the Rescue Ace Hydrant. You can go into IP Masquerena, you can go into SP Little Knight. You can even just leave those monsters to your side of the field because they do something really good. Hypothetically, if you do go into a monster like IP Masquerena, on your opponent's turn, you can use Rescue to special summon the Hydrant, and now your opponent or your Rescue Ace Preventer is live to flip a monster face down. Your opponent can't tag into Rescue Ace Hydrant without, of course, going through Preventer first, and these cards have their second effect live, and when you do, your opponent does get rid of your Preventer, you can special summon your Airlifter to be able to add a Rescue Ace spell card from your deck to your hand. Really basic combo. But now I'm going to go ahead and reset and show you guys the cool combo, I guess. Now, this combo does require a little bit of specific cards. It requires you to have Rescue Ace Hydrant, and it also requires you to have Rescue Ace Preventer in your hand. In this situation, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your Rescue Ace Turbulence, Effect Veiler, and Infinite Impermanence proof, because a lot of times your opponent wants to use it on those particular cards. The lazy way of being able to do this is having access to Turbulence with 2 additional monsters on the field. I'm going to show you the lazy way first. So the easiest way to insulate your Turbulence combo is really just Hydrant plus any extender. It's the reason why I play Fire Engine, Fire Attacker, Preventer, because all of those cards pretty much lead to almost the exact same thing. What we're going to do is normal summon Hydrant, and a lot of times your opponent won't stop this because they really want to stop the Turbulence. And I won't add the Turbulence just yet. I'll use the effect of Fire Engine to summon itself, then Hydrant to get the Turbulence. From here, we can link both of these monsters off into an SP Little Knight, and then banish these 2 monsters for Rescue Ace Turbulence. My opponent is put in a really odd situation right here. If they allow you to activate the effect of Turbulence, and they chain Infinite Impermanence. You just use SP Little Knight to dodge the Infinite Impermanence, and voila, you get your 4 cards. But if your opponent preemptively does it and, you know, Infinite Impermanence the Turbulence, we don't chain SP. What we do is we link these 2 monsters into a Promethean Princess. Then Promethean Princess special summons back the Rescue Ace Turbulence. Then the Turbulence set 4, and then you can link again into an extra disruption inside of Amblowell. So that's the really roundabout way. And if you have access to 2 copies of SP Little Knight, then you drop these 2 cards that I'm about to show you for the combo. So this particular combo is if you can't afford 2 SP Little Knights, and your boy had to cook. So if you really enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the cookage I'm about to show you, go ahead and hit the like button. Tell me some other deck profiles you want to see. It requires Hydrant and Preventer. And like I said a lot of times, people don't stop Hydrant because the big thing is to stop Turbulence. So you search out Turbulence. You link off the Hydrant into Almirage or your relinquished Anima. Then you special summon out the Preventer by banishing. And then you're going to link these 2 monsters into Proxy F Magician. The effect of your Preventer will trigger to be able to summon out your Rescue Ace Hydrant. And Proxy F Magician specifically reads, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your field as fusion material, right? If a fusion monster is fusion summoned to a zone this card points to, we don't care about that effect. You're not going to use it. You're going to use that effect to fuse 2 fire monsters with different types into your Mud Dragon of the Swamp. And you're welcome, guys. Declare fire with Mud Dragon of the Swamp, summon out your Turbulence. Your Turbulence can now dodge any targeting effect, which is kind of good because now on the following turns, you can still use Mud Dragon to continuously protect your monsters, and it's a card to future make SP Little Knight. This was the type of lengths of budget that I had to go to get you guys instead of just playing a second SP Little Knight. And hypothetically, if your opponent did ash you on some other play, you can use these 2 monsters for a link. Go into Nahida, summon their fire monster, go into Promethean Princess, summon back, and then you'll have something like Amblowell in 4 set face down cards, which is kind of menacing for your opponent to deal with. And that's all that I have for the $50 budget competitive Rescue Ace deck. It was really fun to do something like this, guys. And if you want to see another one of these type of decks, just let me know, man. Just let me know. Hit the like button, share this video up. I love making deck profiles for you guys. Until then, big dog, make sure you have an amazing day and check out these videos so I can catch you on the next one.